Right. So, I guess I'll just pause and leave it at that.
Good place to start. I did get a laugh. So 2 topics I want to get to. One is kind of like more macro, high level. And then the other one, we'll get into a lot of marketing details and it'll be fun. And so the first place I want to start is kind of like when I started creating content in 2015, 2016, and like started to take it seriously at a company. It was a $35 million company. The executives thought it was dumb. The sales reps laughed at me. People thought it was stupid. And it's now starting to play out 5 years later. When I started my company, people told me to build an outbound sales team. They told me that I could never scale. They told me that my posts when I got 3 likes was a waste of time. And the reason I say that is mainly because continue to this day, built a pretty decent sized company and we continue to grow it. People still try and tear me down or be condescending. And so I just wanted to kind of get it started in a different direction here about like how to get over not caring about what people think or say about you. Because if I took any of that stuff seriously, which it hurt, and I heard it and I felt it. But if it stopped me, then I'd probably still be a marketing manager at a company pretty unhappy. And so maybe it's a little deep to get started, but just wanted to kind of like hear what you had to say about that. I thought it was an interesting topic.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you guys something similar to that happened to me this week. I don't even advertise this on LinkedIn on my career history. This is how ashamed I am to say this. But my first job ever, when I was in college, was tech support in a call center working for Time Warner. All right. So on one of those calls, mental anguish every day for 2 years straight, 8 hours a day, just complaint, angry customer, problem, all negative, mental beating, mental thrashing. And so one of those calls was a customer who had a problem, but was also, I didn't know this, one of the executives at Time Warner. One of the executives who had a problem with their personal service. And I took that call and I didn't know who it was. And I was flawless on that call. I was so good that person said, "Do you know who I am?" And I'm like, "No, I'm executive, blah, 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 whatever." And I was like, "Oh, well, damn." And I was like, and this person was like, "Yeah, so what do you want to do in your future?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to be doing this." And he was like, "Well, maybe I can help you move up in the company. Is there something that interests you?" And we talked about a few things. And this person actually went out of their way to try and help me. But I realized that Time Warner was a graveyard of a company. It was not the kind of company that aligned with my values and who I am as a person. So during that process of him trying to help me, I actually found a different opportunity and abandoned ship. And I recently was featured on NBC talking about how music has helped me to get through the pandemic. And I didn't know this, but I told that person on that call about my musical endeavors, and he went and signed up for my email list right after that call, the same email list I'm growing today. And I sent out an email yesterday to my personal email list sharing the feature that NBC did on me. And he responded to that email and said, "Hey, do you remember me? You helped me with my internet support 8 years ago or 9 years ago on that Time Warner call." And he was like, "I'm still there and I wish I wasn't. And even though I'm like, a really senior person, I hate it. And I want to eagerly change careers so badly. I just don't know how to do it. And to see how much you have evolved over these years, you maybe don't remember me, but it is really awesome to see, man." And I read that email like 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I responded to that guy just saying, "Dude, I would just love to talk to you and catch up. So we're going to have a catch up later in the week." But wow, man. Wow. that was some mind-blowing shit. And, you know, to the point Chris was saying, like, yeah, you may start from somewhere really small. It may just be 3 or 4 people, you know, commenting on your shit or giving you likes. But I still remember to my days of being a miserable call center tech support rep, miserable, dealing with mental anguish and pain, like to where I am today, to where I was, nobody would even believe it. But you will get there. You will. But you got to work.
And whenever you're doing something
Yeah.
new, people are going to challenge you and try and tear you down. And I've learned that a lot. I learned it today. I was on a podcast. I got featured. I was the guest after Neil Patel. And after the interview, because I spent most of my time telling people that I thought that ebook downloads on LinkedIn ads was a waste of money and time. And the guy said to me, you know, you're the person after Neil Patel. Do you have a PR person? How did you get on here? And like in a really condescending way. And I go ahead. I know you got to jump in.
You don't belong to be in the same conversation
Precisely.
as Neil Patel. It's like Neil Patel, then who?
Neil Patel peaked in 2011. Anyway, so let's jump to something real. But I thought that was interesting. So I don't know if we've covered this, but I think we really should go back to it. I got 2 more topics. But the first one for people, especially during this time, I think is super actionable, is what are like the top 3 or 4 line items that you should scrutinize the most right now in your budget if you're looking to be more conservative with your money.
Okay, definitely. So first thing right off the bat is display ads.
Thank you.
Display ads. Go into your Google Ads account right now. You're going to have the option of sorting by search, display, and video. Look at your display right now and go see what's happening there. You're probably getting a ton of cheap clicks, but is it doing anything? I don't believe display ads are the right way to promote for brand or even to try to get free trials into your, unless it's retargeting and it's part of an ecosystem of thought out executions. It's most likely not worth it. So go scrutinize that.
Can we go into that for a little bit? You
Sure.
mind if I interrupt? Can we? So
Yeah,
just play
please.
devil's advocate on this because I talk about this a lot. The things that I see on display is actually like your CPA is pretty low, but if you actually go and look at it, all the leads are garbage, like spam, trash. But the other piece that people will push back on me on display is it's a brand activity. And they challenge things like whether or not posting on social is a brand activity. But when you ask them how they measure display, they're just like, well, the CPMs on display are like 90 cents. And so like, yeah, it works. Like, talk me through how you think about that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, straight up paying display ads for brand is bullshit. So straight, like, I don't know how else to put it to you, but think about like, if you go to Business Insider to read about coronavirus and you see an ad for a Google, you see a display network ad for Nextiva, the company that I work for, and I'm cold display banner advertising to you. What are you going to, I'm taking a pure shot in the dark on this. Like, yeah, the click is going to be 20 cents, but you know, I'm taking a pure shot in the dark here. Right. Mm-hmm. So what's the point? You're much better off doing something that's going to associate your brand very positively. Like, for example, Nextiva is talking to Stanford University about doing some sponsored co-marketing. That makes sense for us. Doing display banner ads on
the whole network,
right? Like, we're just annoying. Right. So,
cool. So display, we certainly agree on that.
Yeah. So talking through the back end metrics of it, like in terms of leads, like here's the thing. When you have display ads, the funnel is not display to demo. Even if that is the flow you want, it just doesn't work. It doesn't happen. Now, Aircall, a competitor of ours, does a really smart play with display. They only retarget and they retarget to their free trial, which I think is a smarter play because it's
Low
they know,
friction.
yeah, exactly. It's low friction. They know where you came from, right? It's not as you're not as invested, right? They obviously have a lot of confidence in their free trial product or their free trial experience. The landing page is really good, right? So that for them, I think makes sense. So back to the original question, where can you look to scrutinize spend? Display is one. The second thing is your actual search campaigns. Go look at anything that you have running in phrase match and broad match, and look at the actual search term report and see what you're getting junk for. Guaranteed there's junk in there. You're guaranteed doing broad match that's too broad, or phrase match that's too wide. And searchers are clicking on junk. Like an example is like if you want to bid on a competitor's brand name, right? Let's say you're Drift, you want to bid on Intercom, and you're doing broad match, and your ads are coming up for download Intercom app, download Intercom mobile app. Why would you want to show up for that? Someone who's probably already a customer just needs to download their app, or right, or someone that is already very like laser focused on Intercom. You as Drift are not going to be able to take them away at that stage, but yet you're showing up there, and you may get accidental clicks, and you can see by the conversion rates and pipeline from that obviously your investment there is very poor. So you need to get tighter on your spend when it comes to phrase match and broad match in your search campaigns. That's two. Go ahead, Chris. It looks like you're getting ready to say something.
No, go ahead. I was just putting it on mute.
Ah, cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. The third area is your vendors. You should be looking to slash this down to as close to zero as possible.
Which
and I'm
ones
not talking
do you
about
think to make it super actionable? Yeah.
Yeah.
Creative or what?
So let's say like you're I hate to even use this, but some companies are doing it. Let's say you are working with Gartner, and they promised you that in the new, let's say you are in the e-learning vertical, cloud e-learning, and Gartner promises you, hey, e-learning company, if you pay us X number of tens of thousands of dollars, when our next analyst report comes out on the state of cloud learning platforms, we will let you use that. We will mention you in here, and we'll let you use that asset on your website for lead magnet. And you can use our likeness, you can use our brand, you can use our logo.
You know to say no when someone's calling it a lead magnet, whether it's a vendor or anyone. If someone's calling it a lead magnet, it's not right.
Right.
Something's wrong. Go
Right.
ahead.
So those companies who are charging you to use their white papers that they produce as industry collateral, right? You should be looking to scale all that down as much as possible. You probably don't need it. And
Would
then
you call that syndication?
In a way, yeah, I would call it syndication. Yeah, I would call it syndication. Totally.
Cool.
And then your PPL, your pay per lead, or your pay per click vendors. So these are companies like, Capterra, Software Advice, GetApp, where they're either charging you per lead or per click. I guarantee you there's inefficiencies there. Can guarantee you're probably getting junk traffic in some cases. You may be sending them to poorly optimized landing pages. You may just be overspending. They may be promising you things that they can't deliver on. And it's probably been a while since someone paid attention to those things. So those are the areas I would go and look at, that just would jump out at the top of my head. I'm sure there's many more that Chris is going to add in here, but those are the top things that stand out to me at the top of my head.
Those are pretty solid. A couple other things that come to mind that are a little bit more detailed, especially on paid social. On LinkedIn, if you're checking the box called Enable Audience Expansion, then you should definitely turn that off. And so when you use Enable Audience Expansion, it basically allows LinkedIn to decide who gets the ad to lower the cost per result that you're trying to go. So the algorithm will optimize for the objective you want. If it's a link click, it's going to find the people that are most likely to click on your links, not necessarily the people that are most relevant. And so definitely turn that off. We pay 80 to 120 on average dollars CPM for LinkedIn ads, and we pay for it because the targeting's good. And when you turn on enable audience expansion, you are completely getting rid of the total value of that ad platform. So that's one. If you're on Facebook and you're using very wide targeting, narrow that in. So some people will target by industry, like finance industry, 12 million people, like it's too wide. Figure out how to use additional filters to move that thing in closer. Facebook is by nature a broad platform. We're paying $2 to $3 CPM right now, which is incredible. And it's really working. So I'd encourage you to try it, but just do it smart. Once you get Facebook working, I do believe that the enable audience expansion is the holy grail of being able to use Facebook ads. And so if you can, I call it warming up the pixel. And this is a complete theory. I have no data. I've never talked to anyone at Facebook. I don't know that this is true. I just see it at company after company. And I think that this is what's happening. So what we do is on Facebook, we pick a target. So let's just say we're selling a project management tool to construction project managers. So we target directly construction project managers. There's 40,000 in the US. We target those people. And when people click on the ad and go to the landing page, it warms up the pixel. It tells the Facebook pixel. If you don't know what the Facebook pixel is, you install it. It's like a script on your website, and then it tells Facebook what's going on post-click. And so those people then get on the website. It gives data back to Facebook about who's clicking on the ad based on what you gave them. And then if you give it enough data, it will eventually, you can turn on audience expansion and the algorithm figures out who to give the ad to. And it's been crazy. I did it for a medical application, and all of a sudden we were selling to emergency medicine physicians, and all of a sudden we had patients showing up in the ER asking doctors to put them on our product, not the other one that they were using. We've had a lot of really cool instances of using that tool. And given the CPMs, I do think that's a good buy. If you have to monitor and check that it's actually doing the right targeting, but I think that one's good. I completely agree. I think that syndication should get cut immediately. One that I saw, which is just like, it's borderline laughable last week, is I saw an executive talking about how people should stop by their virtual booth at a conference. And I was like, it was just like kind of like laughed. I'm not sure if they like paid for it and they had to go or what, but like, do not have a booth at a virtual conference. But yeah, I think you covered the big ones. I covered social. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. The vendor one, maybe we can go in a little bit more. Like a lot of marketing teams use outsourced resources. And so let's say you have an SEO vendor, a PPC vendor, you might have a paid social, you might have creative, whatever you are using, scrutinize the results of those people and ask them what they're actually measuring on. And so I see this a lot. If you look at like the cybersecurity industry, for instance, and it's not because of the agencies, it's because the companies want this, but they only measure their results on cost per lead, and then they don't measure it from there. And so you're paying an agency to give you leads and not tracking whether or not it's tracking to revenue. Or you're paying a company to write blogs and you're not measuring how that blog is impacting your business, just your SERP rankings. And so those are a couple of things that I think about too on the I guess external resource side, whether it's freelancers or agencies.
Yeah, man, it's right on. I love all your insights there. I'm proud to say Nextiva is 100% in-house for all our marketing operational needs. Zero outsourcing.
By the way, I am an external vendor, and I believe that you should do everything in-house, which is not in my best interest to say, but I do believe that you should strive to get there.
Yeah. I will say there is one exception. There is one guy who helps me with link building. And that's it. There's just one guy, just one freelancer helps me with link building. That's it. So yeah, it's not easy to get to this place, and it's not a realistic option for everybody, but this is where you should strive to get to as much as possible.
Right on. So we got one more topic. Drop the questions in the chat if you have some. I can pull a couple from LinkedIn too that I got earlier today. So the last topic was per request before you arrived today, which I think is interesting, which is about the idea of, I. The question was geared toward how to post-produce webinar content or the follow-up. And I thought, just because we've covered that a lot, what would actually be an interesting topic for this one is to talk about, okay, so you've completed a webinar, you have 60 minutes of video content like what we have right here. And then how do you actually like deploy that? Like, what do you do with the video from there? I think it's really kind of interesting to talk about the flow and share some ideas.
So it's after the webinar, how do you use the webinar materials for repurposing?
Yeah, you got the 60-minute video. Where do you go from there? For distribution,
Yeah.
not for like follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, you're the master at this. I don't even know why I'm answering this. I mean, Chris, I think you actually use clips from these Hangouts and chop up audio of yourself kind of ranting on something and use it for LinkedIn like the next day.
Yeah, it gets on LinkedIn pretty quick.
Yeah.
So the clips, whether it's from an industry expert, like here's what I'm thinking. So my personal profile, the clips of what I say go out my personal one. If I was in a bigger company, it would probably go out under the company page as well. We could also take Gaetano's clips and then repurpose those, and those go out on the company profile, and we can tag him, and then maybe he'll comment on it, which will then elevate the company page in the rankings. We would take the actual webinar video raw, just cut the front and the back and throw it right on YouTube. No edits, none of that stuff. We would then take the audio, rip it from front to back. We might do, if there's silent periods or other chatter or things like that, we might do a little bit of audio mixing and editing, but that'll go right up onto the podcast. We're trying to get to a place where the videos premiering on Zoom at 9 a.m., going on the podcast at the same time the next morning. And that's kind of like, I think that's the like level one flow that you should strive to get to. If you can get there, then we can talk about level two, but that's a pretty good repurposing of the content. From there, you could write blogs and do other things. I really like so we just talked, for instance, let's go through this example. Gaetano just laid out the 4 things that you should consider scrutinizing right now in your budget. That could be 4 PowerPoint slides that you can carousel through on LinkedIn. You could run paid against that if you want, like carousel ads work on paid Facebook or LinkedIn. You could do it organic. That's another option. So it's not only the video content, it's also the information that's delivered here can be taken and used in different ways too.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's so much you can do it. It's nuts. Like you can even use that in your nurture. I know, Chris, you love that nurture email flows. Yeah, that just that term actually gives me the heebie-jeebies as well. But yeah, long story short, maybe your prospect emails, let's call it that. You can use some of these content collateral pieces in your emails to prospects. For example, Chris, he has a marketing company. He probably appeals to CMOs, VPs of growth, these kinds of roles. I bet you that if he went into his database of contacts right now that are in his pipeline or just sitting there as a prospect and segmented by job title, growth or CMO, and sent them that repurposed clip on, hey, these are the 4 areas of your marketing spend that you should scrutinize extra closely right now. And if you send that to them, the open rate will probably be huge. The response rate will probably be great. The click-through rate and engagement will probably be awesome. Right. So, and that all came from a random Zoom hangout on a Tuesday night, and it could potentially get some pipeline. Right. So yeah, like there's just a million ways to skin a cat, as they say. You just got to get creative. The hard part about it is just re-listening to the whole clip and finding like, okay, I love what I said from 22 minutes and 37 seconds to 24 minutes and 17 seconds, right? Hey, creative team, clip that up, get the transcriptions done, use rev.com, whatever you use, and then put all the assets together. That's actually the legwork. But then how you go and distribute it and use it creatively and effectively is on you.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I did keep up with my word. I did send out the email. A lot of you probably received that. I appreciate the feedback a lot. Thank you. It was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. And let's transition to some questions. So the first one coming in from George is: have you found lookalike lists based on email lists to work on Facebook? And the answer is definitely not. The reason being, I believe, is that lookalikes are very broad. So on a lookalike audience, it's going to take 1% of the population in that country that uses it. So if you're selling anything besides like sneakers or something that's super toothpaste, something that's super wide, you're going to have a 1.1, wait a minute, a 3.3 million person audience inside of the thing, and you're a B2B product. So how many people are you actually selling to? And typically the algorithm's going to use different things to try and figure out who to give it to based on what's alike about the people. And it might not be just their job title. And so I have never found lookalike audience bases based on lists to work. I would suggest instead to build a list based on targeting, like kind of like I broke down before. So pick the ICP, whether it's field of study, job title, professional association, deliver like 3 to 4 link, click, or landing page optimized ads with no expansion. Get the clicks to a level where you probably are up to 500 to 1,000 clicks, and then try and run a campaign with audience expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I have nothing more to add. That pretty much nails it right in the coffin.
Right on. Yeah, right on. Hold on. We got a question from Ashley, and let's see if we can get her in here. Is this alphabetical order? Yeah. Go ahead, Ashley. I think I got you.
Okay. So I'm doing a webinar with 5 brands. 3 of them are mine. I'm with like a big software portfolio with no money. So we're having them do the creative, and we have some co-hosts for a webinar. And the company is asking me, would I consider Facebook pixel sharing to do?
This is great.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because this is the first time I've had this requested of me, and I kind of was like, let me think about it. So,
what do they want? They just want you to put your pixel on their site and swap?
Right.
Is their target your target?
They're non-compete, so it's all e-commerce sellers, but they do loans. We do like review software and landing page software. So
I have, Gaetano, you got anything on this one? You can jump in if you have an answer. Otherwise, I have a really interesting example.
I mean, I'm still trying to grasp what the question is. It sounds like actually, if you can repeat it one more time.
It's just about swap. Like, so I go to company Z and they're like, okay, so I'll install your Facebook pixel on my site if you install it on your site, and then we can share audiences.
Oh, fuck. Oh, wow. That gets interesting. You know, I'm trying to think at Sales Hacker if we ever did that, because we had a lot of partners. I mean, I don't think we ever did that. I don't have experience doing this, actually.
I did it once. I wrote a post about it probably like 6 months ago. So I can try and dig it up for you. I'll send it to you if I can find it, and I'll break it down. So
my first response was that I would want to know what types of ads they wanted to run.
It doesn't show up under
my site.
Yeah, it doesn't really show up under your brand anyway. But when I did it, and I'll tell you why it was interesting for me, is that there was not clear targeting on Facebook for who exactly we wanted to go to. We were selling to somebody that took care of certain people in dementia care and senior living facilities, and there just wasn't a clear target for them. They had a bunch of different job titles and a bunch of different roles, and I couldn't find a way to get to them. But there was a platform where almost all of the people logged in and used it. It was like $30 a month, and it basically like gave them little like tools and things for the people that they were trying to take care of. And so I asked them if they would install the Facebook pixel on their site, and they said yes. And it built the audience over a month, and it was the only people that would ever go to that site are those types of people. And there was 15,000, and I would run direct response, sign up for a free trial ads on those. And I was getting signups from our ICP for like $4. And so I think the only place to use it is when I'm not sure, we're getting some background noise here.
Sorry, I have a family.
Yeah, no worries. I understand. Where was I going with this? The only place to use it is when you can't get to your exact audience anyway else. Otherwise, I don't see a huge benefit in it. Let me maybe.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see a huge amount of benefit in this.
It did crush in that example, but it's a very unique example.
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, if somebody from my team said, "Hey, we should do this with a partner company," I would just say, you know what? It feels more like we're jumping through hoops here.
Mm-hmm.
This seems too wacky. The results of this will be too unknown. I'd rather go in a time like we're in right now, coronavirus, where everything is kind of on a downswing. I'd rather go for more proven strategies. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not something I would entertain at this point.
Yeah. It's the only clear way is if it's the exact person you want to go to and there's no other traffic going there, I think is the time that I would want to use it. Cool. Let's keep it moving.
Matthew has an interesting question here that I think I'll address. So Matthew, do you want to jump in and ask this one?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Gaetano, you were on a video clip hit earlier this week, and you mentioned in this, the first question you ask a demand gen marketer in an interview is a question about their SEO approach. And you said you'd be looking for some really specific stuff in their answer to know if they were the real deal or full of shit. So what are some of those specific things you're looking for when you ask a question like that, and why?
All right, cool. So the context for everybody is, if I was interviewing a demand gen marketer and I was to ask them about their SEO approach, what would I ask them specifically, and how would I look for them to respond? So the question that I would ask them right off the bat is, what is the hardest keyword you ever ranked for? And take me through that process, soup to nuts. So for one, I would want to know, what keyword are they going to tell me about? Right? Like, did they rank for something like something very top of funnel, like best Instagram meme generator, or something very difficult and commercial driven, such as cloud phone system or business phone service or cloud VoIP? These are all terms that my company ranks for because we work really hard to rank for them. So just straight up, the keyword that they choose to tell me about will explain a lot about how this person thinks about marketing. Secondly, let's say they did choose a keyword that was commercially challenging, like cloud VoIP. I would want to know, what was the process for landing on that keyword in the first place? How did you know that cloud VoIP was important? Because it's not super obvious, and there's a lot of permutations of these kinds of terms. But how specifically did you land on cloud VoIP as something you were going to prioritize? Was it high cost per click and low difficulty score, which means that there's a lot of commercial intent and low competition? Did you figure this out by going to your AdWords team, your Google Ads paid team, and say, hey, what's hitting hot right now in paid search that we should be ranking for organically? How can we combine forces and kind of double dominate the search results for that term? Thirdly, did you happen to listen to a variety of sales calls where you hear the prospect saying, yeah, I searched for things like cloud VoIP and VoIP for hosted VoIP in the cloud? Did you hear that from sales feedback or sales calls or prospect feedback from listening to calls? Or lastly, did you just do some competitor research and say, you know what, all these competitor brands are all over this and we're not? We know we should rank for this because RingCentral, Vonage, and Aircall would not all be fighting for this term if it wasn't super important. I would go there to start. How did you land on this as a term. From there, let's say you landed on the term. What is the content strategy? Is it a landing page or is it a blog? What kind of blog? What kind of landing page? How long does it have to be? What kind of information does it have to have on it? Does it have to have pricing or not? Does it have to have feature modules or not? Should it have videos or should it not have videos? How should it look for mobile? Right? Let's see. Also, if you decide that it has to be a landing page, because all the results on page 1 for this query are landing pages, that's an obvious sign that you have to build a landing page. What is your landing page building process? How do you think about going from an idea to a completed product of a landing page? What is your eye for quality when it comes to judging how good or how bad a landing page is? What should the informational hierarchy be of the page? Where should pricing go? Where should features go? Where should the testimonials go? Where should all these things, how do all these things work together, right? How do you write copy? Can you write copy? Do you know anything about copywriting? Do you know anything about messaging? Do you know anything about product marketing? Do you know anything about using social proof on landing pages in the right way? Do you know how video and images and graphics will impact page speed, user experience, mobile? Do you draft a mockup for mobile and for desktop? Or are you just desktop focused? Which I hope you're not. Once you do all this, how are you able to convey this information to the design team? How are you able to process whether or not they did a good job? How are you able to know whether or not that design is high quality or low quality? Let's say you nail the design. Okay, boom, everyone's on the same page. Great. Design mockup is ready. Now, how do you transfer that to development? How do you give devs direction? How do you tell them where the links should go? How do you give them feedback on CTAs? How do you go through the QA process with devs? Can you speak their language? Can you tell them certain things about certain modules, certain elements? No, the padding here is too much. No, we should reduce padding there. No, this doesn't look great because of reasons X, Y, Z. Oh, you cut this in a weird way. Oh, you know what? I remember there's a cool module on this page that performed well. We should repurpose for this. Then when it's live, what do? How do you go about building links to it? Once it went live, what did you do to make it rank? It's not just going to rank out of nowhere. How long did it take to rank? The whole process from the moment you identified that keyword to the moment it ranked number 1, what is everything that happened? How long did that take? What was your role? Who was involved? What did they do? How did you manage it? Right? So just in this 5-minute rant, I've probably named like 50 things that you have to do in order to get this page to rank. Right?
Somebody's got to clip that rant for a LinkedIn clip. And that was the hardest interview I ever went in, and I didn't even go on it. Jeez.
Yeah. So you don't want to interview with me if you're coming in for a demand general. You believe me, I'm not the guy you want because I'm going to fuck your day up. So unless you know how to answer all those questions. So this is what I look for, Matthew. This ain't no walk in the park. You're talking with someone who's been there, done that, for a lot of challenging things. So, I'll pause there. That was kind of a long-winded rant, but that's what modern day marketing, great demand marketing, this is how it works, man. Like when we identify a keyword, we say, you know what, we want to rank number 1 for cloud phone system. It might take us 3 months of nonstop focused hard work just on that one page before we rank, but we're relentless. We don't give up until we rank for it. And that's kind of how we do business. So I'll pause there.
I got nothing else to add on the SEO conversation. So we got a quick one from Gary, and then I saw something come in from Allison, which we can get to, which looked great. This one's quick. It looks like you're using Wistia on your website for videos. Do you also put these webinars on Wistia and YouTube? When sharing the video, do you default to the YouTube link or the website link for Wistia? So Gary, the short answer here is I started using Wistia in 2015. I mainly used it as a lead capture tool, and it integrated into HubSpot. So we would gate the video, we would gate high production videos. We would push the email into HubSpot, and people would go into nurtures. After doing that for 2 years, I realized that it didn't work, and I stopped doing it. I still use Wistia because the video player looks a lot nicer than YouTube, and you can control the experience. And so that's the only reason I use it. However, Wistia charges based on bandwidth usage, and we have a lot of high quality, long videos. And so we do not put these demand gen live systems or recordings on Wistia. We use YouTube embeds for these types of productions, lower quality productions, to be frank. And we use Wistia to host our high production quality events or interviews or things where we have videographers coming out that we're paying like $4,000-$6,000 to do the video. So that is how I think about it. So if I'm linking, almost always the goal is to get someone on the website. So if I have a long form piece of content, most of the time I'm going to link to the website, unless I have a different objective. Like I want some, right now I'm pushing very hard for people to subscribe to the podcast or to the YouTube channel, because I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to explore how that works and how people respond and what happens when you get 500 subscribers on the podcast. Does it go faster? Or is it harder? How does that work? When you have 500 subscribers and you do an instant premiere, what happens? And so those are some of the things that I'm really trying to figure out. And when we do, I will report back. But on the Wistia side, that's how we do it. So from Allison, let's see. You want to ask away? Just unmuted you, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Good to see you.
So my question, good to see you too. My question is, when you work for an organization that doesn't necessarily understand kind of the modern world of content marketing and demand gen, when you start to branch out and go look for a different job, maybe, how do you talk about that experience with someone like yourselves? And, because it looks like poor performance sometimes. So how do you talk about that experience with an interviewer, and kind of move past that?
Take it away, G. I'll let you start.
Okay. To recap the question, ask it one more time. I don't know if I got it. I want to just get it.
Yeah, sure. So when you're in interviews, and in the past you've worked for somebody who doesn't understand content marketing and demand gen, how do you talk about that experience with an interviewer?
Right. So let's say I'm the person who has the domain knowledge and expertise of demand gen, content marketing, ads, SEO, and the person who is interviewing me has no idea about any of this stuff. Is that the question?
No, I understand. So I'll let you know. So,
okay.
So I work for a company and my company doesn't understand demand gen or content marketing, but now I'm trying to go out and get another job. And then they're going to come and check the website about the company that I work for and think this stuff's shit. How do you talk through that?
Right. So I know how to rank, but I haven't been able to get the results because my company sucks.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, I would just be real brutally honest. And I would say, look, this is why I'm trying to get out. Mm-hmm. This is exactly why I'm trying to get out, because, I can't work like this. They're inhibiting my ideas. They don't get it. I can't get the support. I've really tried hard to make it work. These are the steps I've done to try and educate the team, right? Like, it's not working out, because like what I've come to realize over time is, unfortunately, there is a fundamental disconnect between the way that I view marketing today and the way the company views marketing. And we're just not going to be able to align on values. There's too much of a fundamental disconnect in terms of values. And, for those reasons, I can't make it work, and it's all good. No bad blood. I just need to be somewhere where like my talent and my skill sets are going to be valued and put to use in an effective manner. And for all these reasons, I'm jumping ship. I just want to be totally candid about it.
Yeah. I like the idea totally of honesty. I like leading with gratitude. So I've worked in this company for 2 years. I'm super grateful to have been able to spend the time there. The people there have been great to work with. I've learned so much. I was here and then I did X, Y, and Z and I got to here, and that's awesome. But now I feel like I'm outgrowing the company and I'm looking for my next opportunity. And I'm really passionate about this specific skill. I've spent blah, blah, blah amount of time on these demand gen lives and doing this and started this side project. And here's the work. If you like, maybe the company's work sucks, but I did this side project on the side. Here's the Instagram channel. There's 5,000 followers. You can see all the pictures and how I do the creative and how I do the messaging. And that's how I would position it.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Gary, follow up, and you no longer gate them. No, I do not. If you've watched one, you see, and just to go a little bit deeper, like gating videos, like let's just talk about that. I did it for 2 years, and all I got was people commenting on the post that linked to there saying, why do I need to fill out my email to watch this? And then I just listened to the customers and the consumers, and I just did what they asked. And now everyone can see the videos. And if you actually look at the data, this is the scary part, is if you have a gated ebook or a gated video and you actually look at the conversion rate data of how many people get to the page and how many people watch the video, you're just preventing somewhere between 75 and 90% of people from even consuming the content by putting up the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing more to say. No further commentary on that one. That pretty much does it.
Yeah, showcase your side projects. Good comment, Trent. Is there one channel you would increase spend, and which one would it be now? Great question. Let's do it.
Okay. Yes. SEO. And I'll tell you why. Because this is the time now where it depends on your industry, but a tsunami, a tidal wave of search is likely coming to many industries that are transitioning businesses from on-premise to the cloud. An example of this would be cloud communication, the world that I'm in. We follow the trend on the market, and we know that 75% of businesses in the US are still using outdated on-premise technologies. And what we're seeing as a result of COVID-19 is a wave, influx wave of businesses realizing, shit, who knows how long we may have to be remote for. We might as well, rip off this Band-Aid now and get this going. So we are at an all-time high. I mean, March and April have been record months in terms of leads and pipeline and traffic for Nextiva. And, I'm here looking like a genius, but not necessarily. I was just prepared. I knew that I needed to get ahead of the game for all these important terms like cloud phone system, cloud VoIP, remote phone system, all these big ones, right? And there's more out there that you need to get ahead of the game of and rank as high as possible for these terms now. And while everyone is scrambling, everyone's thinking about doing all these crazy tactics, I'm doubling down on what I know is consistent and what works. And as cost per clicks are driving up, because advertising is also getting more competitive right now because everyone's bidding on crazy shit. Everyone wants to bid because the demand is hot. But you don't see a lot of companies right now saying, you know what, I'm going to actually play offense in this area where everyone's kind of sleeping. So I'm going big on SEO right now just because I know that a huge tsunami and tidal wave has not even yet happened for all these big terms. So while I can step on the gas and get ahead of the game when everyone else is doing paid ads and sponsored webinars, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to get ahead so that when that tsunami comes and that tidal wave hits, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be ready and I'm going to be at the top. So that's where I'm investing in right now.
We're kind of going full circle from the debate we had at the beginning of last week, and I will go. I'm choosing between two, and I'll just let you know my thinking. So I'll talk about both of them. So number one is if you can get to the people, just run Facebook paid. We're paying $3. The prices of Facebook paid has got cut in half in the past 6 weeks since we've been doing it. And so $3 CPM, if you can do it and you know how, that's I think the place where we're seeing the best results. Like for one client, I was pulling up the data while Gaetano was talking. We've spent $21,000 in ads so far this month for this client and have driven $950,000 in pipeline on a 90-day sales cycle. That's from a SaaS company that's trying to grow fast. That's good. And so that one, but on the other side, I feel like it might be a good idea to really double down on LinkedIn organic through a personal profile. You have so much time right now to create content. And a lot of people, I feel like that if you are trying almost anything that you want to do in your career, you could accomplish if you had the right strategy on LinkedIn organic. I just do.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with that. The last thing I would say, in terms of where to potentially increase spend is on verticalized marketing. So as things are getting noisier, as companies are getting lazier, more cookie cutter, more generic, I would start to look at, all right, in these customer verticals and profiles that we have, where are we starting to see uptick in traction? Because you're going to start to see certain industries emerge and certain industries scale way down. So if you're a company right now that services hospitality, restaurants, airlines, you're fucked, right? Those companies are either quitting on you or can't pay their bill, whatever, right? But if you are servicing businesses that are thriving, you should figure out how to get more personalized around those verticals and go big, right? And all around go big and go personalized. Your email campaigns, your ad sets, your content strategy, your website messaging, your funnel, social, all these things, and just start building that pipeline. Because right now, also a lot of companies that are in those markets that are hot, they're not ready to pull the trigger on any deals right now because of COVID, but they're probably going to be coming back around that mountain in 3 to 6 months, maybe longer, maybe less, depending on your business flow. But that's what I would think about.
So I actually have a question. And I'm going to ask it to you, and it just kind of sparked to my mind, but it feels like you're in the zone tonight. So I'm going to let you chop it up. So talk to me about your thinking in growth stage from a CAC standpoint. Like, let's talk. I think that there's something we haven't covered right now for any recurring revenue model business. It's a critical metric. Like, let's talk through that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to slice and dice it.
I love leaving it open-ended, so you can just
it's
take it
super
wherever.
Open-ended. I don't even know where to start ranting. So, I mean, at the end of the day, look, you should be looking at CAC by source, and just trying to get an understanding of, am I bleeding here or am I profitable? Where am I losing big? And you may want to get down to the point where, like, okay, we can't just look at Google search as one big bucket. It's too big. We need to chop this by the ad group level. And we may say that, in this ad group, and by the way I'm talking about ad groups is imagine keyword buckets, right? So let's say a real basic, I'm going to use Freshworks as an example. Let's say you sell marketing automation, a CRM, a help desk CRM, and let's say you also sell a chatbot. You would have ad groups that contain keywords that are separated by bucket that align to those product lines. And it obviously goes deeper beyond that, but I'm just using this as a basic high-level example. And you may find out that you're by ad group, for chatbot, you're profitable because you're investing X, you're generating X pipeline. You know how long it takes for those deals to close on average. You're seeing the close rates. You're seeing the average amount won. You know the lifetime value ideally of that customer set, how long they stick around, how sticky that product line is, and then you're able to do soup to nuts numbers and say, we're investing X, we're getting Y out, and boom, that's the equation, right? So you need to be trying to get to that level of granularity for all marketing channels and sources. But I mean, just the obvious winners are going to be organic marketing. So, but the problem is that you don't necessarily have
organic is a blend.
You don't have attribution.
That method works phenomenally for direct response.
Yes.
For direct response, because some paid, like my objectives in paid is content consumption, not conversion. So you don't have attribution, and then they all come through organic. But that's for right. Like content syndication leads, if you use webinar registrations and you use webinars as a lead gen, if you do ebook paid, if you do Google search, if you do YouTube pre-roll predicated on a conversion action, all those things can be tracked in buckets and calculated at CAC at the channel level.
Right. For SEO though, it sucks because it's actually, most companies do it by last touch attribution. It sucks because, we have so many good top of funnel, mid funnel blog articles, how to use IVR, what is auto attendant and how does it work? They may leave, come back a week later. Oh yeah, I remember I read that article on IVR auto attendant. They go back to the homepage, they click through the product, they sign up for a demo.
They get retargeted, it goes to display.
Right. If they get retargeted, it goes to display. If they get retargeted, they see the banner, they don't click it, they just type it in the browser. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So, this whole thing is kind of fucked, but for full disclosure to everybody on the call, we are engaging with a company called Bizible, Bizible, which allegedly can do full funnel attribution by all marketing sources, can measure every single touch point in the journey, in the buying journey. I have never used a tool that claims they can do so many great things. I will certainly keep everybody in here updated on how the implementation goes and what kind of data we get from it. But it's a growth marketer's dream, and I've never had anything like that at my disposal. So unfortunately for us, SEO, and for many companies, SEO is one of those things where you measure on last touch attribution. You maybe look at things like assisted conversion reports and Google Analytics, but you truly just don't ever know. The only thing you can really do from a CAC standpoint is think about headcount. How many, if you're using vendors, how much do you spend on them monthly? What are your link building costs, right? And then you try to map that back to the organic landing pages that don't have UTMs and stuff like that. And you look at conversion rates and closed won pipeline built from those page sources. The other thing that's tricky with our funnel is that we have live chat, which also drives a ton of leads that end up closing quite a bit. And we have phone numbers. So so David's like, oh shit, look at that. Yeah. So like the phone number throws a bit of a curveball, because, we haven't gotten granular enough yet to say every single page has a unique phone number. So we know if they went to the, cloud phone systems page for enterprise, they call this number. If
Call rail crushes, by the way. I don't know if you looked at that.
Yeah. So that's the next level of shit. But it's not easy to get this figured out. And I guess I'll end my rant there.
Yeah.
And Chris, I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts.
I got a couple things. So the direct response channels can easily be measured on ROI. Super simple. Like you put an ad out there, someone clicks on it, they convert, you have a cost per lead, you track it through the funnel, you close 10%, you can see how much that customer costs by looking at the entire cost. So those ones are super simple. You say, okay, it cost me $10,000 to get a customer on AdWords. The challenge is when you start to look at activities that are not directly measurable, if you're doing things that way. And so I choose to do things that way because I think they work better. Most companies don't do it that way because they can't measure them. And so when we're thinking about all of those different things, events, display, if we're doing content for paid social, you look at the direct response channels, you can look at those in one by one. And then I like to look at the entire marketing budget and everything marketing sourced. So whether that's direct response or coming anyway through the website, not attributed to an outbound or a sales sourced activity. And then you have all of the marketing created revenue against all of the marketing spend, which gives you and then when you do the calculation, it'll give you marketing CAC. And marketing CAC, I like to target somewhere between, I think a good number is 6 to 9 months. I think a really good company in a freemium model that's crushing performance marketing might be able to get it down to 3, but like for a complex B2B high ACV product, I think 6 to 9 is pretty good. And then if you look at it, the rest is going to come from a total CAC. If you're looking at blended CAC, sales, marketing, all commercial expenses, you're going to layer on all the sales activities and put in all of the sales deals. So all sales expenses and all sales deals into one big bucket. And then you get blended CAC, which is going to tell you basically how much it costs you to acquire all of your customers based on all of your commercial expenses, which is a good metric for investors, but it's a very bad metric to make business decisions on because it's all put together. And so most companies where we run that analysis will find that the outbound CAC is somewhere between 1.7 and 2.5 times higher than the inbound CAC. And so when you go to make business growth investment decisions, it seems very black and white to me, but not to many, that you should try and figure out how to scale the channel that has the lowest customer acquisition cost.
Agreed. Chris, I got to bounce. I'll let you continue rocking with everybody, but everyone, thanks again. This has been an awesome weekly session again. Hope to see you all next week. Maybe we'll promote it some more this time, Chris. We haven't been promoting it, but people still show up. So appreciate everybody. I left my Twitter link in the chat if anybody wants to connect there. I'm trying to get better at I'm trying to get better at Twitter. I've been historically whack, but I'm trying to step up. So
I don't think I've tweeted since like 2014.
Yeah,
So maybe
I'm trying to get up there, step up a little bit. I can't just be all LinkedIn. So
yeah, so everyone knows when G leaves, then that pretty much the show's over. No one's sticking around for me here. So
they're sticking around. I gotta bounce though, folks. My bad. I got another call actually starting. It's 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I still got calls. So
good to see you, man.
Later, homies. Take care.
We'll call it a night, y'all. I appreciate you all stopping in. Hope it was helpful. If you're working on anything throughout the week, please feel free to shoot it over. If I can answer it quick, I'll just get you an answer on LinkedIn DMs. Probably the best way to get to me, or by responding to the email that I send out. If it's a quick answer, I'll try and get to it in the message. And if it's more complex, or I want to have Gaetano to be able to give a different viewpoint, then we can cover it in detail here. Super appreciate all of you. Hope this is valuable. Hope it's helpful. We're trying really hard for every time we do this, to try and bring something new and current. And so I'll continue to be thoughtful about what topics we choose to start with, and hope that it's useful. And I hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday night and the rest of your week. Hope to see you next week.
Yep. Great job, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. This is crushed tonight. Appreciate it.